Ambassador Elena Vasquez stared at the massive screen in the Galactic Council chambers. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago as she listened to endless debates about trade routes and mining permits. The human diplomatic team sat in the back rows, as always. Earth was still considered a minor species by the Council standards. The Xanthari delegate stood up at his podium. High Arbiter Kethmar was tall even by alien standards, his blue-scaled skin catching the chamber's bright lights. His forearms moved gracefully as he spoke in the Universal Translator's flat voice. "Honored Council members," Kethmar began, "today we demonstrate proper order maintenance." Elena felt something cold in her stomach. The other delegates seemed interested but not alarmed. This was probably another boring presentation about law enforcement statistics. The main screen flickered and changed. Instead of trade charts, it now showed a beautiful blue-green planet. Elena recognized it immediately. Kepler 442b, the human mining colony where 50,000 people lived and worked. "This human settlement has violated Statute 847A, Kethmar announced calmly. They expanded beyond their permitted mining zones. "The penalty is total elimination." Elena shot to her feet. "Wait! There must be some mistake." "Silence," Kethmar commanded. Security drones hummed to life around the human section. "The demonstration begins now." On the screen, a massive ship appeared in orbit above the colony. Elena had never seen anything like it. The Xanthari dreadnought was the size of a small moon, its dark hull bristling with weapons. Energy began collecting around dozens of plasma cannons. Elena tried to activate her communication device to warn the colony, but found it blocked. Around the chamber, other delegates watched with mild interest as if this was just another routine presentation. The first blast hit the colony's main city. The plasma beam was so bright that the camera automatically dimmed. When the light faded, the entire downtown area was gone, just a smoking crater where thousands of people had been living their lives moments before. "No," Elena screamed, but her voice was lost in the chamber's acoustics. The bombardment continued methodically. The dreadnought's weapons fired in sequence, each blast erasing another section of the colony. The camera showed people running in panic, families trying to reach evacuation shelters that would never protect them from weapons designed to crack planets. Elena watched a school bus full of children racing toward the spaceport. The plasma beam hit it directly. The bus simply vanished along with the 43 children inside. "This is murder," Elena shouted at the chamber. "These are innocent people." Some delegates turned to look at her with mild annoyance as if she was interrupting an important lecture. The attack continued for 47 minutes. Elena counted every second. She watched her own species being systematically exterminated, while representatives of 800 alien civilizations observed in silence. Some took notes. Others seemed bored. The colony's desperate radio calls echoed through the chamber's speakers. Parents calling for their children. Emergency workers begging for evacuation ships that would never come. A teacher reading stories to kindergarten students as their shelter shook from nearby impacts. Then silence. The screen showed a dead world. Where the human colony had thrived for 30 years, only smoking ruins remained. 50,000 people reduced to ash and memory in less than an hour. Kethmar turned back to the chamber. "Order has been maintained. The humans were warned about expansion limits. They chose to ignore our laws. This is the consequence." Elena stood shaking in her section. Her security escort, Captain Torres, had his hand on his weapon. But what could one human soldier do against an entire galactic chamber? "You monster," Elena whispered, then louder. "You're all monsters. Those were families. Children." "Ambassador Vasquez," the council speaker announced in his mechanical voice, "you are out of order. Your species was granted diplomatic status as a courtesy. That courtesy ends now." Security drones descended toward the human section. Elena knew she had perhaps 30 seconds before they dragged her away. "Earth will remember this," she declared to the chamber. "Humanity will remember what you did today, what you allowed to happen." Kethmar's laugh was a sound like breaking glass. "Your species numbers barely 12 billion across 30 systems. We are 800 civilizations strong. What can humans possibly do to us?" Elena looked around the chamber at delegates who had already moved on to the next agenda item. Trade negotiations with the Vegan Republic. As if 50,000 human lives were just a brief interruption in their busy day, the security drones reached her. Elena didn't resist as they escorted her team toward the exits. But she kept talking, her voice carrying through the chamber. We might be small, we might be weak, but we remember our dead, we honor them, and we never ever let their killers go unpunished. Fascinating, Kethmar replied. Your species' emotional attachment to individual lives is well documented. It makes you weak. It makes you predictable. It makes you easy to control. Elena stopped walking just before the chamber doors. She turned back to face the assembly. Maybe you're right, she said quietly. Maybe caring about every single life makes us weak. But you just made a mistake that will teach you the difference between weakness and mercy. The doors closed behind her, cutting off her last view of the council chamber. In the corridor, Captain Torres looked grim. Ambassador, our ship is ready for immediate departure. Earth Command is already asking for your report. Elena nodded but couldn't speak yet. The images from Kepler 442b kept replaying in her mind. The school bus, the families running for shelters, the teacher reading to children as death approached. As they walked toward the docking bay, Elena thought about Kethmar's question. What could humans possibly do to 800 alien civilizations? She didn't know yet. But she was absolutely certain they would find out. In her pocket, her secure communicator buzzed with an encrypted message from Earth. Just 2 words. Come home. Elena quickened her pace. 50,000 humans had died today while the galaxy watched and did nothing, but 12 billion more were still alive, and now they knew exactly who their enemies were. The human diplomatic ship Prometheus departed the council station within the hour. As they jumped to hyperspace, Elena recorded her final diplomatic log entry. The Galactic Council has declared war on humanity today. They just don't know it yet. Behind them, in the council chamber, delegates continued their routine business. Trade routes, mining rights, agricultural disputes. The massacre at Kepler 442b was already forgotten, filed away as a minor administrative action. None of them noticed that the human delegation had been recording everything. Every face, every voice, every casual dismissal of genocide. The footage was already racing toward Earth at light speed, carried by quantum communication relays that the aliens didn't even know existed. Earth would have the complete record of this atrocity within days. And then, Elena suspected the galaxy would learn something new about the weak human species. They would learn that humans never forgot their dead, and they never forgave their killers. The Sol Defense Council met in the deepest bunker on Earth. President Martinez sat at the head of the table, her face pale as she watched the footage from Kepler 442b for the 3rd time. Around her, the most powerful humans in the galaxy struggled to process what they had witnessed. 50,000. Admiral Sarah Chen said quietly. They killed 50,000 of our people like they were stepping on insects. Defense Secretary Williams slammed his fist on the table. We need to respond immediately. Send the fleet to Xanthari space and accomplish what? Interrupted Dr. Marcus Webb from the far end of the table. The elderly scientist looked tired, but his eyes were sharp. Our entire navy has maybe 200 ships. The Xanthari alone have thousands. The Council has millions, so we just accept this? Williams demanded. Let them murder our people without consequences? President Martinez raised her hand for silence. Dr. Webb, you've been unusually quiet. The Black Horizon project falls under your authority. What options do we have? Webb stood slowly and activated a holographic display that filled the room. It showed the galaxy with human settlements marked in blue and alien territories in red. The red completely dwarfed the blue. For 50 years, everyone has believed humans are a minor species, Webb began, useful for manual labor, mining operations, basic manufacturing. The aliens see us as slightly clever animals who can follow instructions. Because that's what we are, Admiral Chen said bitterly. Compared to their technology, that's what we've let them think, Webb interrupted. But while they've been dismissing us, we've been learning, adapting, planning. The hologram changed, showing hidden human installations throughout the galaxy. Manufacturing centers disguised as mining operations, research stations hidden in asteroid fields, shipyards built inside dead planets. The Black Horizon project has been reverse engineering alien technology for 30 years, Webb continued. But more importantly, we've been developing weapons they've never imagined. Weapons that exploit their assumptions about warfare. President Martinez leaned forward. Explain. The aliens fight clean wars, Webb said. Energy shields, plasma weapons, ship-to-ship combat with established rules. They've had peace for so long that they've forgotten what total war looks like. The display showed human ship designs that looked nothing like the crude cargo haulers the aliens were familiar with. sleek predatory vessels bristling with weapons that seemed almost organic in their lethality. "We've built a fleet," Admiral Chen breathed. "A real fleet. Not just ships," Webb replied. "We've built an entire military-industrial complex hidden across 100 systems. Every human cargo hauler can be converted to a warship in days. Every mining platform can become a fortress. Every research station has been developing ways to kill aliens more efficiently." Williams was studying the tactical data. "These weapons, kinetic bombardment, exotic matter manipulation, quantum disruption fields. I've never seen anything like this." "Because aliens don't think like us," Webb explained. "They've been spacefaring for millions of years. They've forgotten that war is about destroying your enemy's will to fight, not just his ships. They've never faced an enemy that uses deception, psychological warfare, and pure stubborn hatred as weapons." President Martinez absorbed this information. "How many people know about this?" "Every human in space," Webb said simply. "Not the details, but they know we've been preparing, waiting. Every miner, every cargo pilot, every maintenance worker has been gathering intelligence and waiting for orders." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "They think they know us," Admiral Chen said slowly. "They think we're predictable." "Exactly," Webb nodded. "They've studied human psychology and concluded that we're emotional, impulsive, and weak, because we value individual lives. They're about to learn that these traits also make us incredibly dangerous when properly motivated." President Martinez made her decision. "Admiral Chen, how quickly can we mobilize our hidden fleet?" "The first wave can be ready in 48 hours. Full mobilization will take 2 weeks. Dr. Webb, what's our strategic objective?" "We can't fight 800 alien civilizations." Webb smiled grimly. "We don't need to fight them all. We need to make them afraid of us. We need to show the galaxy that humanity doesn't accept genocide as law enforcement. And we need to do it in a way that forces them to change how they think about justice." The display changed again, showing Xanthari space with critical targets highlighted: military bases, industrial centers, communication hubs. "The Xanthari think they can murder 50,000 humans and face no consequences," Webb continued. "We're going to teach them that every human life has a price, and that price is higher than they can afford." Defense Secretary Williams was reviewing the target list. "This isn't just military action. This is total war." "No," President Martinez corrected. "This is justice. The aliens understand force. They understand consequences. They don't understand mercy or proportional response. So we'll speak their language until they learn ours." Admiral Chen was already accessing her command codes. "The fleet commanders are waiting for orders. What's our authorization level?" President Martinez looked around the table at humanity's leadership. Each face showed the same grim determination. "Operation Reckoning is authorized," she announced. "Admiral Chen, begin mobilization immediately. Dr. Webb, activate all sleeper assets in alien space. Secretary Williams, prepare for total economic war footing." As the meeting broke up, Webb stayed behind to speak privately with the president. "Sarah, you understand what we're unleashing? Once we show the galaxy what humans are capable of when we're pushed too far, we can never go back to being the minor species they dismissed." President Martinez nodded. "Good, I'm tired of being underestimated. The Xanthari wanted to teach us about consequences. Let's teach them instead." Across human space, the transformation began within hours. Mining platforms revealed hidden weapon systems. Cargo ships jettisoned their disguises to expose military hardware. Research stations started broadcasting new orders to sleeper agents who had spent decades embedded in alien civilizations. But the most important change was psychological. For 50 years, humans had accepted their place as a minor species, grateful for any scraps of respect from their alien neighbors. The massacre at Kepler 442b had burned away that humility forever. In military academies on Mars, instructors showed footage of the school bus being vaporized and asked their students a simple question: how do we make sure this never happens again? The answer was always the same: we make them more afraid of us than we are of them. On Luna Base, Admiral Chen watched the first wave of human warships departing for Xanthari space. These weren't the crude vessels the aliens expected. These were instruments of precision warfare, designed by a species that had learned to kill efficiently over millions of years of evolution. The aliens were about to discover why humans were the only known species that had evolved from persistence. Hunters, they were about to learn what happened when predators decided to stop pretending to be prey. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Retribution, watching the Zenthari border approach on her tactical display. Behind her, 200 human warships moved in perfect formation through hyperspace. These weren't the cargo haulers and mining vessels the aliens knew. These were instruments of war that had been hidden for 30 years. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "we're receiving surrender demands from the Zenthari patrol fleet." Chen almost smiled. "What are they demanding? That we turn around immediately or face destruction? They have 40 ships positioned at the border checkpoint. Show them what human diplomacy looks like now," Chen ordered. The patrol fleet never had a chance. Human ships didn't fight like aliens expected. Instead of the traditional ship-to-ship energy weapon exchanges, the human fleet launched thousands of kinetic projectiles at near light speed. The Zenthari ship's energy shields were designed to stop plasma and laser fire, not chunks of metal moving at relativistic speeds. 40 alien ships were reduced to debris in less than 3 minutes. "Send a message to Zenthari High Command," Chen ordered. "Tell them that was for the school bus." The human fleet didn't stop at the border. They spread out across Zenthari space like a plague, targeting everything that kept their civilization running. But they weren't indiscriminate killers like their enemies. Every target was carefully chosen for maximum. Strategic Impact Captain Rodriguez led Strike Team Alpha to the Zenthari communication hub at Kepler 186. The massive space station coordinated all military communications across 12 star systems. The aliens expected a direct assault, but humans didn't fight fair. Instead of attacking the station, Rodriguez's team infiltrated it using maintenance pods that looked exactly like standard cargo containers. 24 hours later, every computer system on the station started broadcasting human children's songs at maximum volume on all military frequencies. The psychological effect was devastating. Zenthari commanders trying to coordinate their defense heard Earth lullabies instead of tactical updates. Worse, they realized that humans had been inside their most secure facility without anyone noticing. Meanwhile, Commander Zheng's Ghost Squadron hit the Zenthari mining colonies in the Vega system. But instead of destroying them, they captured every alien worker and sent them home with a simple message. "This is what happens when you murder innocents. Tell your leaders that humans remember." The empty mining platforms continued operating normally, now run entirely by human crews who had been hiding among the alien workforce for years. The Zenthari government realized they had no idea how many humans were embedded in their society. Dr. Webb's intelligence teams went to work on something the aliens had never experienced: information warfare. They began broadcasting the complete footage of the Kepler 442b massacre on every communication channel in Zenthari space. But they didn't stop there. The broadcasts included detailed personal information about every Zenthari official who had participated in or approved the attack. Their home addresses, their family members, their daily routines. The message was clear: we know where you live, and we can reach you anytime we want. High Arbiter Kethmar found himself trapped in his own command bunker as human-controlled drones circled overhead, dropping leaflets with photos of the children killed at Kepler 442b. The leaflets included one simple question: which of your children should pay for theirs? But the humans weren't targeting civilians. Every attack was precisely aimed at military and industrial targets, always leaving escape routes for non-combatants. This restraint confused the aliens more than brutality would have. "Why don't they just kill us all?" General Vorth asked during an emergency Zenthari military briefing. "They have the capability. Because they're trying to teach us something," Admiral Kess replied grimly. "They want us to understand the difference between justice and revenge." The psychological campaign intensified when human forces captured a Zenthari supply depot without firing a shot. They simply walked through the front entrance using stolen security codes, loaded everything onto cargo ships, and left a recorded message from Ambassador Vasquez. "You took 50,000 lives in 47 minutes. We're taking your ability to wage war one piece at a time. This will continue until you surrender those responsible for the Kepler 442b massacre for trial. We don't want conquest. We want justice." The Zenthari government tried to rally their allies but found that the other council species were reluctant to help. The humans weren't attacking anyone else, and many aliens were secretly impressed by humanity's restraint and precision. Let the Xanthari handle their own problems, the Altarian delegate told the emergency council session. They created this situation. Within 2 weeks, Xanthari space was in chaos. Their military couldn't communicate effectively. Their supply lines were constantly disrupted. Their civilian population was demanding answers about why the government had provoked a war with a species everyone had dismissed as harmless. But the most devastating blow came when human intelligence agents revealed that they had complete recordings of every Galactic Council session for the past 30 years. They began broadcasting the most embarrassing secrets of every species, along with a simple demand: support the prosecution of war criminals, or have your own crimes exposed. High Arbiter Kethmar sat in his bunker, watching reports of human forces systematically dismantling his civilization's infrastructure. They weren't killing his people, but they were making it impossible for his government to function. His aide, Colonel Thax, entered with the latest casualty reports. Military losses are approaching 60%, but civilian casualties remain under 1,000. The humans are precise. They're making a point, Kethmar replied bitterly. They want us to know they could kill us all, but choose not to. The other sectors are reporting similar patterns. They take our military assets, capture our personnel, and then release them with propaganda about the Kepler 442b incident. Kethmar had seen the footage the humans kept broadcasting. The school bus full of children, the families running for shelters, the teacher reading stories as death approached. Images that haunted his sleep and made him question everything he thought he knew about warfare. What are our options? He asked. Surrender or escalation, Thax replied. The Council is assembling a response fleet, but the humans have already demonstrated they can predict our tactics. How? They understand us better than we understand them. Every human worker, every diplomat, every maintenance crew has been studying us for 50 years. They know exactly how each species thinks and fights. Kethmar realized the terrifying truth. The humans hadn't just been preparing weapons. They had been preparing to fight a war against enemies who thought they were superior. Every casual dismissal, every condescending comment, every assumption about human limitations had been carefully noted and turned into a tactical advantage. Send a message to the Council, Kethmar ordered. Tell them the humans have to be stopped before they reach the core worlds. But even as he gave the order, Kethmar knew it was probably too late. The humans had shown they could strike anywhere, anytime, using weapons and tactics the galaxy had never seen. Worse, they were doing it with a restraint that made their power even more terrifying. They could have exterminated every Xanthari in space, but instead they were forcing them to confront their crimes. The question was no longer whether the humans could be stopped. The question was whether the galaxy would learn from this lesson, or force humanity to teach it more harshly. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with panic as representatives from 12 species demanded immediate action. High Arbiter Kethmar stood before them, his once proud bearing now hunched with desperation. The human plague must be stopped, Kethmar declared. They have destroyed 60% of our military capability in 3 weeks. They strike without warning, disappear without trace, and leave our people alive to spread fear. Council Speaker Zalthor, a massive insectoid from the core worlds, clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. The humans make no territorial demands. They seek no conquest. They simply want you to face trial for the Kepler 442b incident. 50,000 humans violated our mining regulations, Kethmar protested. The response was proportionate under Statute 847A. Was it proportionate to kill children? Asked Delegate Vess from the Andromedan Republic. Her tentacles writhed with disgust as she accessed the footage the humans kept broadcasting. I have reviewed their evidence. These were families, not military targets. The chamber erupted in arguments as species chose sides. The older civilizations wanted stability and order. The younger species were quietly impressed by humanity's precision and restraint. Everyone was afraid of what might happen if the humans decided to expand their campaign. The question before us is simple, announced Admiral Korex of the Hegemony Navy. Do we allow a minor species to threaten galactic order, or do we demonstrate the consequences of challenging the Council? The vote was close. 847 species voting for military action, 312 voting for negotiations, and 156 abstaining. The humans would face the combined might of the galaxy's greatest military powers. Admiral Corex took command of the largest fleet in galactic history. 3,000 ships from 12 species, armed with weapons that could crack planets and shields that could withstand stellar radiation. The fleet represented the accumulated military might of civilizations that had ruled space for millions of years. Find the human homeworld, Corex ordered his intelligence officers. Find Earth and end this rebellion before it spreads. But finding Earth proved impossible. The humans had deliberately obscured their homeworld's location in all official records. Every captured human refused to reveal it, even under the most advanced interrogation techniques. They simply smiled and said, "Earth remembers," instead. The fleet followed human attack patterns toward what appeared to be their staging area, the Nexus Point, a region of space where several hyperspace routes converged. Long-range sensors detected 47 human ships holding position near an abandoned space station. 47 ships, Admiral Corex mused to his staff, against 3,000. Either they're insane or this is a trap. Intelligence suggests humans are incapable of tactical deception on this scale, his Zenthari advisor assured him. Their psychology makes them prefer direct confrontation. Corex deployed his fleet in the classic council formation, heavy battleships in the center, cruisers on the flanks, fighters providing screen coverage. It was a formation that had won 1,000 battles across galactic history. The humans waited until the alien fleet was fully committed before revealing their true strategy. The abandoned space station suddenly came alive, with weapon systems that appeared to be built from spare parts and scavenged alien technology. But these weren't primitive weapons. They were kinetic accelerators that launched projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. The first barrage punched through the shields of a dozen alien battleships before anyone understood what was happening. The projectiles were simple chunks of metal, but at those velocities they hit with the force of nuclear weapons. "All ships return fire," Admiral Corex commanded. But the humans weren't where his weapons targeted. They had scattered into small groups that moved through the alien formation like wolves among sheep. Human ships rammed alien vessels with precision calculations that turned each sacrifice into maximum damage. Captain Maria Santos drove her destroyer Fury directly into the bridge of a hegemony dreadnought. The impact killed her and her crew instantly, but also eliminated the command ship coordinating an entire sector of the alien fleet. They're not trying to win, Admiral Corex realized with growing horror. They're trying to hurt us as badly as possible before they die. The humans deployed tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. Boarding pods breached alien hulls, and human marines demonstrated why they were the only known species that had evolved from persistence hunters. They didn't try to capture ships intact. They sabotaged life support, destroyed computer cores, and forced the aliens to choose between fighting and surviving. But the most terrifying aspect was the psychological warfare. Human ships broadcast detailed information about every alien species' weaknesses, cultural taboos, and military doctrines. Worse, they broadcast personal messages to specific alien officers. Commander Vaxel, a human voice called over the tactical frequencies. "We know about your corruption charges on Altair 7. We know about your family's debts. We know you're only here because the military was your last chance for advancement." Similar messages went out to hundreds of alien officers, revealing embarrassing personal secrets and destroying unit cohesion. The humans had spent 50 years studying every alien they encountered, and now they were weaponizing that knowledge. The battle became a nightmare of close-quarters combat, where superior numbers became a disadvantage. Alien ships collided with each other trying to avoid human ramming attacks. Friendly fire incidents increased as psychological warfare undermined trust between different species. "How do they know all this?" demanded Captain Zorth of the Rigelian Navy, after humans revealed his secret addiction to Terran gambling games. "They've been watching us," Admiral Corex replied grimly. "Every maintenance worker, every diplomatic aide, every cargo handler. They've been mapping our weaknesses for decades." The battle raged for 18 hours before Admiral Corex admitted the unthinkable. His massive fleet was losing to 47 human ships. Not because the humans had better technology, but because they fought with a desperation and cunning that the galaxy had forgotten. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel." "Put it through." Ambassador Elena Vasquez appeared on the main screen, her diplomatic uniform replaced by military fatigues. Behind her, the bridge of her ship was clearly damaged but still operational. "Admiral Corex," she said calmly, "you've lost 800 ships trying to kill 47 humans. Your fleet is scattered and demoralized. Your allies are questioning why they're dying for Xanthari war crimes. We will not negotiate with terrorists," Corex replied. "Then you'll all die here," Elena said simply. "But before you do, I want you to understand something. This isn't our main fleet. These 47 ships are volunteers who knew they wouldn't survive. The real human navy is heading for the core worlds while you're wasting time here." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Corex staring at a tactical display that showed his once mighty fleet reduced to scattered wreckage and fleeing survivors. "Admiral," his aide whispered, "what are your orders?" Corex looked at the carnage around him and realized that everything the Council thought they knew about warfare was wrong. The humans hadn't just built better weapons. They had remembered something the galaxy had forgotten. War wasn't about superior technology. It was about the will to sacrifice everything for victory. "Send a message to Council Command," he ordered. "Tell them we need to negotiate, sir. Tell them the humans just taught us that there are fates worse than defeat. There's being wrong." As the surviving alien ships limped away from the Nexus Point, Elena Vasquez recorded a message that would be broadcast throughout the galaxy. "We didn't want this war. You forced it on us when you murdered 50,000 innocent people, but we're going to finish it. Earth remembers. Earth endures. And Earth will have justice." The message ended with footage from Kepler 442b, the school bus, the families, the teacher reading stories as death approached. The galaxy was beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake when they decided human lives were disposable. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the human flagship Justice, watching the Galactic Council homeworld grow larger through the transparent aluminum viewport. Behind her, fleet stretched across space like a constellation of vengeance, not the 47 ships from the Nexus Point, but the real human navy that had remained hidden until now. 2,000 vessels that the galaxy had never suspected existed. Each one carried weapons designed specifically to counter alien defenses, manned by crews who had grown up seeing footage of the Kepler 442b massacre. "Ambassador," Captain Torres announced from the bridge, "we're receiving surrender signals from the planetary defense grid." Elena nodded but didn't turn away from the view. The Council homeworld was beautiful, a pristine blue marble that had never known war. Its orbital stations gleamed like jewels, representing the accumulated wealth and power of 800 species. "Any word from the Council chambers?" she asked. "They're in emergency session. Delegate reports suggest complete chaos. Half the species want to negotiate, the others want to fight to the end." Elena finally turned around. Behind her, the planet's surface was already marked with the shadows of human ships blocking out the sun. The psychological effect was exactly what she had intended. The galaxy's rulers would spend their final deliberations in artificial twilight. "What's the status of our primary objective?" "High Arbiter Kethamar and the entire Xanthari leadership are in custody. Their own people turned them over 3 hours ago." Elena smiled grimly. That had been the most satisfying moment of the entire campaign, watching the Xanthari Republic vote to surrender their leaders rather than see their homeworld destroyed. The same officials who had casually approved genocide were now begging for mercy. "Admiral Chen is requesting permission to address the Council directly," Torres continued. "Granted, it's time to end this." The Council chamber was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the usual ordered debates between species ranked by power and influence, delegates huddled in frightened groups while human security teams maintained order. The great viewing screen that had once shown the massacre at Kepler 442b now displayed the human fleet surrounding their homeworld. Admiral Sarah, Chen walked to the center of the chamber where High Arbiter Kethmar would normally stand. The symbolism was deliberate. Humanity now controlled the position of ultimate authority in galactic politics. "Honored delegates," Chen began. Her voice amplified throughout the chamber. 47 days ago, you watched 50,000 humans die and did nothing. Today you will decide whether this galaxy learns to value justice over power." The chamber remained silent. Even the most arrogant species representatives seemed to understand that their ancient superiority was over. "The human demand is simple," Chen continued. "We want a new galactic justice system, one where genocide is punished regardless of who commits it. one where the strong cannot simply eliminate the weak because it's convenient. Delegate Vaxer of the Rigelian Empire stood up shakily. What assurance do we have that humanity won't use this power to dominate the galaxy? Chen gestured to the viewing screen, which now showed human ships beginning to withdraw from Council space. Earth's location remains classified to protect our homeworld. Our fleets will return to human space once a new justice system is established. We don't want to rule you. We want you to learn to rule yourselves ethically. And if we refuse, asked the Andromedan delegate, then you'll discover that the weapons we've shown you so far were just the beginning, Chen replied calmly. Humanity spent 50 years being underestimated. We used that time well. The chamber's main doors opened and Ambassador Vasquez entered, escorted by a small team of human marines. She walked directly to the center of the chamber and stood beside Admiral Chen. I was here 47 days ago, Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. I watched you observe genocide with the same interest you might show a weather report. I promised you that Earth would remember. She activated a holographic display that filled the chamber with images from Kepler 442b. The school bus, the families running for shelters, the teacher reading stories to children as death approached. These people died because you created a system where might makes right, where the strong can eliminate the weak without consequence, where 50,000 lives can be erased for violating a mining permit. The images shifted to show the aftermath of the human campaign. Centauri ships disabled but crews safely evacuated. Military installations destroyed but civilian populations untouched. Precision, restraint, and surgical application of force. We could have responded with the same genocide you showed us, Elena continued. We had the capability to destroy every Centauri world, to eliminate their species as completely as they eliminated our colonists. Instead, we chose to show you a different path. The hologram now displayed the proposed new galactic justice system. International courts with judges from multiple species. Enforcement fleets that answered to the courts rather than individual governments. Protection protocols for minor species and colonies. This is what justice looks like, Elena announced. Equal protection under law regardless of species, population, or military power. The same rules applying to everyone from the smallest colony to the mightiest empire. Council Speaker Zalthor finally found his voice. The logistics alone would be impossible. The bureaucracy, the enforcement mechanisms, will be funded and staffed by humanity, Admiral Chen interrupted. We'll provide the initial infrastructure, training, and security forces. Once the system is established, it will be self-sustaining. Why would you do this? Demanded a delegate from the Centauri Confederacy. What do humans gain? Elena's response was quiet but carried to every corner of the chamber. We gain the assurance that what happened at Kepler 442b will never happen again. To anyone, anywhere. The debate that followed lasted 6 hours. Some species argued for maintaining the old system. Others worried about human dominance. A few demanded guarantees and safeguards. But gradually, as the implications became clear, consensus emerged. The alternative to accepting human proposals was continued war against an enemy that had already demonstrated their capability to destroy civilizations while maintaining moral restraint. The final vote was unanimous. 1, 2, and 11 species in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions. Elena watched the vote count with satisfaction, but her expression remained serious. The new Galactic Justice Accords will be implemented immediately. The first case will be the prosecution of those responsible for the Kepler 442b massacre. What about reparations? Asked the Centauri delegate, who had replaced the discredited leadership. Already arranged, Admiral Chen replied. Every family killed at Kepler 442b will receive compensation equal to their lifetime earning potential. Additionally, the Centauri Republic will fund a memorial at the colony site and establish educational programs about the consequences of genocide. As the session concluded, Elena found herself standing in the same spot where she had been forcibly ejected 47 days earlier. The memorial to the Kepler 442b victims was already being installed. 50,000 names etched in crystal that would remind future generations of the price of injustice. Ambassador, Torres approached quietly. Earth Command is requesting your status report. Elena looked around the chamber one final time. Delegates were already beginning discussions about implementation timelines and enforcement protocols. The galaxy's most powerful species were planning how to submit to a justice system they had never imagined possible. "Tell Earth Command that the mission is complete," she said. "Justice has been served, and our fleet disposition? Begin withdrawal to human space. Our work here is done." As the human fleet departed Council space, Elena recorded a final message that would be broadcast throughout the galaxy. 50,000 humans died at Kepler 442b, because the galaxy believed that might makes right. Today we've established a new principle. Justice makes right. We don't seek to rule you, but we will never again allow you to rule through fear and genocide. The message ended with a simple image: the memorial crystal bearing 50,000 names, surrounded by representatives from every species in the galaxy, the strong and the weak standing as equals under a new system of justice. High Arbiter Kethmar, watching from his prison cell, finally understood what humanity had accomplished. They hadn't conquered the galaxy. They had forced it to evolve beyond the brutal hierarchy that had allowed the massacre to happen. Earth's location remained classified, ensuring that humanity could never be cornered and eliminated. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned that human lives, all lives, had value that couldn't be measured in military power or economic utility. The teacher reading stories to children as death approached had not died in vain. Her sacrifice and the sacrifice of 49,999 others had fundamentally changed how the galaxy defined civilization. Elena smiled as Earth appeared on her ship's viewscreen. Home looked exactly the same, but the galaxy around it would never be the same again. Humanity had demanded justice, and the galaxy had learned to provide it.